Hey everyone, this is the Creative Leadership Podcast. My name is Arne van Oostrom. Thank you for joining me on this journey. So, what's happening? Schools started. Schools. So I have two kids, 8 years old and 14 years old. My son is 8. My daughter, 14. I've never had a teenage daughter before. Sounds maybe silly, but it's true. And I don't know. With social media and that phone in front of her face all the time. I don't know. What will that do to a young person's brain? And I don't know. Maybe I'm worried about the fact that maybe more that because she's a girl and all the images that she sees, everything has to be perfect. And I don't know. I'm worried about that. So again, it's just my first experiment with having a teenage daughter. I am probably going to mess it all up. I don't know. I'm really trying to be a good dad. Really trying to. But there's a generational thing, right? When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, my parents were worried about stuff. I was, we had this Commodore computer, and I was playing these games, and I think I spent a lot of time playing these computer games. I had my favorite music. My dad really hated that. I watched television programs I just didn't understand. I remember watching Monty Python, and my dad just, he was like, "What is going on? Stop watching this, please." So, I think it's part of being a parent, not understanding your teenage kids, and it's part of, my struggles of letting go and feeling that I kind of have to let go and have her make her own decisions. It's really tough. I think it's really tough. Anyway, back to school. So they're not home. During this pandemic, everything kind of changed, I guess. But here in the Netherlands, kids are going back to school. So that's kind of normal, I think. All right. Anyway, so on the show today, I have Robert Puchalla. He's the managing director of consulting, and he's a brand expert from Arsmedium in Nürnberg, Germany. And he grew up in Poland during the Soviet era, which is a really great story because he moved as a teenager. He moved to Germany, and he was totally overwhelmed by all the products and all the advertisement that he saw, which has been a big influence on him. And still is. He fell in love with brands and specifically purpose-driven companies. And we're going to talk a little bit about what makes a brand a great brand. So we're also going to talk about his philosophy on economics, about taking care of resources and not managing resources. And he's going to sing the Kellogg's Frosties song to us in German. He's also going to share going through a massive burnout and what it does to you, how it starts, and how to recover. We're really, really grateful for Robert sharing that story, because I think that's a valuable, really valuable lesson, I think, to many of us, including myself. So enjoy. There we go.
I'm a chaotic guy, and I love chaos. I really can work quite far with chaos, which is I'm always on drive. I'm always taking a look on what will happen is next, what do we take care of, and that on every level. And actually, I think what describes me best is that I love change, and I want to change whatever has to be changed. That's the most characteristic thing about me. If you ask people who are dealing with me, they're always just like, "Okay, but Robert, we are ready." And I just like, "No, we're not. Let's take the next step." And that is co-working with people is people who can deal with it perfect. But there are a lot of people who are just like, yeah, but stop now, And I just like, no, let's take the next step. Let's take a look on what impact does this have on what will ever develop and so on. So I am, well, you might say, I will never stop.
Is that something that the people around you find frustrating every now and then, or it sounds like, please, can you stop?
Yes, yeah,
We're done.
yeah.
We're done, Robert.
Yeah. Partly, yes. Especially if you're dealing with different people. Like taking a look on our company where I'm working, also my within my private situation and so on and so on. Always like pushing forward, and it depends on people who are dealing with me. So there are a lot of people who have this open-minded mindset, let's say it like that, where to say, yeah, that's cool. He's pushing me forward, and you're always challenging. But there are also people who are just like, but we've taken the step, and maybe can we just come down and just see what will happen within the next time, and just a little bit, well, slower. But at the end of the day, it's all about, that is what I believe. It's all about taking change and something that always existed and will ever exist, and it's something that is natural and something that you have to deal with and go to the next step and also see what you can do out of that.
Mm-hmm. And have you always been like that? Can you remember, or did that start at one point, or where did you did? Because the way you describe yourself, like, is that something that was clear to you, when you were a kid, or like, was you were always pushing people?
Yeah, kind of, yes, but not in an obvious way. So I was really aware of that. I was always like changing a lot of changing situations within my life. So I grew up in Poland, just with my mom. My dad was abroad working there, so we always changed where we lived. And then as I've been 13, so within the time where, very important time for me, we moved from Poland to Germany, from a big industrial city into a very, very rural area in Germany, a really rural area, the middle of the Alps. So there was always kind of change for me. And I was always this nice guy who is kind of, I could always deal with my teachers, for example, right? I was always the guy who was doing quite a lot of, well, troubles, but always had a good tone with them. And I always, and at some point, and I think this started after I had a burnout, like 2009, where I just stepped back one step and taking a look on, okay, what happened so far? What happened that it leads to this point, and what can I learn out of that? And at some point, I just recognized, okay, I have to be aware of what my characteristic is, that I always pushing forward, right? And then I start to kind of work and dealing with that. And it took me a long time to really understand what it means.
And why did your parents move to Germany from Poland?
Well, actually, it was my dad was always like, I want to offer you, my brother and me, something totally different that we have in Poland. I want to get out of this regime. I want to give you all the possibilities to be successful in the future.
This is at the time that Poland was still part of sort of the Eastern Bloc.
Yeah, for 1 month. That was the funny thing, that we moved in 1989.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So in August of 1989, we moved to Germany, and like 2 or 3 months later, you know what happened at this time.
Yeah. So that was like, oh, damn it.
Yeah. So no, but I still believe at the end of the day that it was, for me, it was a very good move. So really.
Do you think they would have? Do you think they would not have moved if they would have? No, because they didn't know this was going to happen.
Yeah, I of course. I mean, I'm thinking like, where would I have developed, or what would happen with me if we stayed in Poland? I don't think that we would have, or I would have those possibilities that I had, and I would develop probably totally different, because it's not the same. I mean, just the East Bloc, let's call it like that, just broke down. and there were like kind of chaos within this country, right?
Yeah.
So for many years, it's still chaos. If you take a look on Poland, what is happening there?
Yeah.
But it was. I believe that was very good for me, talking about where I'm standing right now. But I didn't realize what happened to my personality and my character. So I was just like really just like from one day to another, I left all my friends, all my well existing area, and moved to a totally different country.
Right. Because you were 13?
Yes.
Yeah, and because that means that big part of your childhood was in Poland. So,
definitely.
Right. So how, if you think back at growing up in Poland, how was that? What are the things you remember?
Well, what I recognize is there was a huge helping neighborhood community. That was amazing. Really, people helping each other, taking care of each other. Really, what I recognized that was different here in Germany. So everybody was very individual, taking care first of his or herself and the nearest area. So that was totally different in Poland, and we didn't have actually all those products and brands and so on, right? So what we did, it was just like a exchanging services area, right? So one guy could repair your car and another guy was the butcher. So they just exchanged things just to solve the problems, right? So I was really kind of overwhelmed, but also totally crazy as I first went into a store here in Germany, where I just said, what is happening here? So many products, so many possibilities. And I was just like mad, packing everything into this cart, and my parents behind me taking back everything out because I was just like totally crazy, And that is something that I had to really to deal with for 1 or 2 years. So really taking or being aware of, at first, of course, how different culture it is, or how people deal with each other. So it was a big change for me. I also had to learn the language because I didn't speak any German word before that, and also really to recognize, whoa, what about the whole masses of products and possibilities that you have here, right? So at the first point, you're just like, whoa, what the hell is happening here, Yeah, that was quite interesting, and that was a big change, I think, in my life, which I've mastered so far together with my parents. And that is why I think where the first point was to deal with changes and with different situations.
And
right?
I'm kind of curious to know. So because it must have been difficult for your parents to move from at that time.
Yeah.
To move from Poland to Germany. So what did your parents do? How did they manage that? And was it part of was it because your father or mother had a specific job, or?
Yes. So my father started to leading a hotel in the area of Schloss Neuschwanstein. There, so they were also working the whole time. My brother and I have been also integrated, and so we helped a lot in there, working there. But we get money also for that.
Cool.
So that was really that was a cool time for us. But I think for my parents that was really, really hard, right? But they had this vision in mind. Yes, we want to offer and to provide something for the best possibility to develop for our children.
Right. And so they had a hotel, or they were working. It was their own hotel.
Well, they were leading that hotel. So they were kind of, they didn't own that because no one owns a hotel within that, but they were leading that for I think 10 or 12 years. And that is, the most time until I got moved away from my parents. I was working there into helped as far as possible. Also cleaning toilets or whatever was needed. I was just like, okay, let's do it. I mean, they need my help and we have to manage that somehow together. Let's do it.
Right. But this was in Germany.
Yes.
But when they were in Poland, were they also working in a hotel? Was that so?
No.
So that's.
So my dad was working in Hungary, so that is where the connections to Hungary is, and he was he had a team of people who were building streets and aqueducts and something like that. So he's been like, for many years, he's been like 3 months away, then being at home for a weekend, then again 3 months away, then a few days at home. So I didn't have much time with my dad at this point. So the first time it was as we moved here in Germany, Germany. Yeah.
And your mother, what was she doing?
Well, she was working at a bureau, just like doing administrative things, something like that.
Yeah, but they were always working.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that, as Aaron mentioned, in Poland at this time, there was a really huge social system that really was taking care of the kids, right? So we were driving away into for holidays, like for 4 or 5 weeks within groups where they were taking care of the kids and so on without parents. So they had the time to go to work. So they didn't have to take any holidays or something like that. And there are always people and also institutions taking care of other people.
Right. So then all of a sudden your parents said to each other, we're going to start a hotel in Germany.
Yeah.
That seems like a huge thing.
It was.
I mean, where do you start doing that?
Well, actually, that is something that I suppose I have that from my father, like from my dad. It's just like, okay, let's do it. I mean, that's always drive me, just like, oh, there's a huge project. There's something to do. Just like, okay, let's see. I mean,
but just the paperwork. I mean,
yeah.
in my mind, like, how do you, because you're in Poland, at the time there's still this regime, you want to go to Germany, start a hotel. That seems like an impossible task.
Yeah, but he had help from people from here. So he had definitely just 2 or 3 friends that he knows from his time before. Because you couldn't also move like this to Germany. You need an official invitation from a German side.
Exactly.
You need all the paperwork, and that was done by the people from here. So by his friends and people that he knows. And it's just like. And after also 10, 12 years, my dad was just like, okay, I had enough of that. Let's change my work and let's do some IT stuff. He hadn't any idea about that, but it was just like, that just sounds interesting. Let's do it,
So after the hotel?
Yeah.
He said, enough of this.
Enough of this. I mean, we've been working like that for 12 years. Let's change it. And, let's do something about IT. And I like Apple. So he was like self-employed and doing IT tasks for hotels, because you know how hotel works, and then he just stepped into this IT area, and then he started to do something like that. So that was quite interesting, yeah.
And when you were so you were working when your parents had this hotel, you were working with them in the hotel, right?
Yes.
So you were helping out with your brother. And but then when your father switched to IT, he had to fire you, or were you still? How did that happen? What happened?
Actually, okay, fired. No, actually, this was the time as I moved away to my study. So I started to study economics in like 300 kilometers away, but that was no problem. So I just moved away, and my brother was just like, okay, let's just start another job. Who cares?
Is your brother older or younger?
He's younger.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So he was still at home when you moved away for studies, right? Okay.
Yeah. For another 3 years, and then he moved away to Austria, also for studying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it was just like it was. That is something that also is kind of my character. So, okay, accept a few things that something changes and do something out of that,
Are there things, can you kind of, if you reflect on that, your character, the way you've developed and, the person that you are now, if you think back, growing up in Poland, moving to Germany, the way your father is actually, kind of managing all that. What are the things that you kind of recognize yourself? Like, I took that with me, or that has had a big influence on my development.
Well, there are a few things. The first thing is just work, just do it. there's no bad work, or no stupid work, or no work that you're just like, it's not on your status, whatever. So it's whatever has to be done has to be done.
That's the hotel, right? That's where, toilets need to be cleaned,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it has to be done. So if it has to be done, just do it, right? And if you can't do it on your own or alone, just integrate people into that and do it as a team. And that is something that really influenced me, where I said, if there's something big to do, it's not about my work, it's about the work of the whole team. So I have to motivate people, I have to keep on track, and my thing is, if I will not manage that alone, so the team has to do it, so I have to keep the team motivated and see if that works. How can we manage that at first? That really influenced me, as I've been self-employed. So I've been self-employed for 4 years, having an own digital agency. So I was the first guy who stepped in there and was the last guy who left the building. So, just to see, so people not feeling like, oh, he's the boss or he's whatever, and I'm just working on that, but always keeping that together as a team. That really influenced me within this time. Right. And also deal with the unexpected, because there are so many things going wrong while doing such things, like also leading a hotel, or maybe something happens like Corona right now, whatever. I said, okay, it happens, and it's nothing that breaks you down, but it's something that you have to work with. So there are no kind of course there are might kind of mistakes, but deal with it and learn out of that and manage that. So that is what influenced me a lot.
Right. And okay, so you moved because you're starting at a school, and you started studying economics.
Right.
Why? Because that sounded weird. No, that sounded like, why would anyone? No, it's like, that's me. That's my psyche. But I guess if you come from a background, working in a hotel, and I think what your father kind of achieved, I think it kind of makes sense. But why was what was your interest in economics, and how did you choose this school? Because it's quite far away, right? Yeah, it must have been other schools closer to your parents.
Yeah, a few points about that. At first, I was really, I was always brand driven. So I was really, really kind of always interested how brand worked. At this time, there's a brand that is always in my mind, and I really managed to work together with them. That is Burton Snowboards. So I started snowboarding. That was the only brand there was Burton. So I was riding the first board. And they really always did everything right. So they were really a brand of a heart. So, and I was so influenced by that. I said, okay, how can a company do so many things right? So what is happening there? How can they do that? Right? Always being like, within the snowboard area, always the brand number one, right? So that was one thing where I said, okay, if we talk about how this brand developed, and also other brands, Red Bull was another example, as we grow up near Austria, and Red Bull was forbidden in Germany. So what we did, we drove over to Austria, bought a lot of packs of Red Bull, went back to Germany and sold that, because that was really a kind of so attractive brand. I said, how do they do that? So I started to think about what do I have to learn to know how brand works, and that was the topic at this point. That was in the year 2000. No, it's 1999 or 2000, where I said, okay, what about marketing? How do you market products and services to create this attractivity? So that is why I started to actually study economics. And at this point, I said,
sorry, before you go on.
Yeah. No.
Two things I want to know more about. First of all, I hear you talk about brands, and still I'm thinking, where does economics? Because in my mind, why don't you then go? You can take a totally different direction. You don't have to go study economics when you're interested in brands. You can become a designer. for instance, or a marketeer or whatever. But that's one thing I want to talk about. But the other thing is, well, two things. One is, so Red Bull was illegal in Germany. So I didn't know that. You go to Austria, you buy lots of cans of Red Bull, and then you sell it in Germany. That's what you said, right?
Yeah, like to friends and. At some point, I was really influenced by advertising and advertisements, TV advertisements, because I've never seen something like that before. So in Poland, there was almost no advertisements.
Wow, that's such an amazing, like, psychological experiment. So
totally.
Here's this guy. He's never been exposed to these lies before.
Totally. And I was just like,
boom. They should have researched you. They should have, like, observed you, like, to see how that would have, because that's interesting. Because I grew up with that, all the time, and it has influenced me, like it is influencing everyone. But because you came from, like, this isolated from this kind of thing, all the way into this world of, like, products and advertisement and all that stuff. So can you talk a little bit about how that connects in your mind and into your interest in brands and what it did to you?
Well, actually, I just thought there were also so many advertisements, right, all around me. So I've been really bombarded with that. But still, they are just a few brands they are really kept in mind, right? Mm-hmm. Where I said, how did they do that? So they are still. I don't know if that exists or not. Kellogg's Frosties, right? But I still have the song in my ears. There's
really?
something that totally, like,
what was the song?
The song. Also it's the German song. So, lass ihn raus, den Tiger, zeig ihnen, dass du es kannst. Den Kellogg's Frosties schmecken so, die wecken den Tiger in dir und dir. It's in there,
Oh,
and
awesome.
There are just a few such songs, such advertisements that are in my mind, and it really influenced me in pushing my parents, but also me, to buy those products. Right. And that is, so there was a kind of differentiation where I said, no, I want to have this product, although I have so many choice, right? And that is something where I said, oh, I want to know how that works. Mm-hmm. I mean, how to, you said all those lies, how to influence people.
Well, it's propaganda, right?
Absolutely. I know what I'm talking about, So, that was really something that was quite interesting for me. And on the other side, how does it fit to that, what the brand or what the company stands for? So is it kind of authentic? That is what I recognize with Burton snowboards, where I said they always kept the promise. So if they are promising something, they are providing the proof for that, right? And then during my study and really taking a deeper look behind those promises on advertising, I just started to think about, okay, but that's not authentic. I mean, they are telling you this with this product, they can do, I don't know, they can make you so beautiful, but at the end of the day, well, it's just a body milk, come on. And that is what was really exciting for me to, at first, the point of differentiations, how do products and brands differentiate from others? How do they pushing people, and also which people are they pushing to buy their products? And on the other side, so what's behind that? Is it a really authentic and trustful brand or company, or is it just marketing?
So I can, again, I mean, this might not be exactly right, but I can imagine that these two kind of almost opposite things happen to you when you come from Poland in the situation that it was in at the time, because you came from a somewhat isolated world where there was a regime, a lot of propaganda. Made you believe in stuff that maybe when you move to Germany, you're like, wait a minute. So two things might happen. One is this being at awe with all these products and these brands and these advertisements, but at the same time, you have an experience that you might be you're being sold certain things that were not really true.
Yeah.
So you might be very sensitive. I imagine more sensitive than most of us to also what's behind this propaganda.
Yeah, questioning what is happening there, right? Not only believing in that, but there's something that always it's always in my mind, just not taking things for granted, but also questioning it. So what's behind it? So if I start something new, I always try to find out what's behind that. Is that right? Is that, is this something that have to be discussed? Is this something that have to be where we have to take care of, and so on and so on. But on the other side, I'm still like, okay, let's do it. So that's something I love to try things out, but I want to know the background behind it, right?
And I think what you also took with you from Poland, at least if I'm just trying to connect things, right? So is I think what you took with you as well, you described very briefly, you described how in Poland there was a community of people taking care of each other. And somehow I'm feeling that, that is because if I listen to you and the way you talk about your team and, in creating a company and teamwork, is that something that it's not just because it's also probably your character, and it's also because of, your experience working in a hotel and needing everyone and just, doing the work. But I also feel that there might be a connection between sort of this, having this experience, being part of this community, whereas in Germany, everybody's very, individualistic. And not so much, you don't, if you live in a city in Germany, you don't even know your neighbors, for instance, right? It depends a little bit on where you live, obviously, but in cities.
Yeah.
Is that something you kind of think about? Is that something you're aware of? Is that just not something explicit?
I think that influenced me definitely, because if we think about what I am thinking about right now, about talking about leadership within companies, where our main concept is human centricity, which means taking care of humans first. Mm-hmm. That is something that really influenced me, right? So I said, this community, this power of a team, this power of taking care of each other, and pushing people to more creativity and kind of feeling free, but also having the security. There is someone who will help me and who I can co-work with. I think, that really influenced me. And also what influenced me was the lack of that here in Germany. So it was quite hard, for example, for me to find friends at some point, right? Because they were just like very distanced, and that was totally different in Poland. So everybody was talking to everybody, and there was always like chat here, chat there. Oh, what are you doing here and there and there? Okay, let's spend some time together. Okay. And that was something different here in Germany, right? I just said people are kind of distanced. They are very individual, taking care first of their own and their nearest area, and it's much harder to deeply get in touch with other people, as it was in Poland. But still, that's something which also today happens in Poland. If you get there, they are almost all open-hearted. They're just like, okay, let's chat, let's and that is something that definitely influenced me.
Yeah. How do you cope as a teenager? Because if it's hard to get to have friends, and how did you manage?
This was the first year, or the first 2 years was quite hard to find a way how to integrate into the totally new system, which I didn't know. For example, what was important at a school way of being is like what you wear and how you're looking, right? So we're just like, I didn't care about my clothes before that. I was just wearing what was there, right? And at some point I just recognized, people don't like me because I don't wear the right things or whatever. So whoa, what is happening here? So I had like just the first 2 years was it quite hard for me to find for me a way how to being integrated into that. And if you take care what happened in Poland, where the integration was existing, so there was no question if people were integrated or not, they've been just integrated. And what happened in Germany and how important this integration for me was. So I have to find my own strategies and my own way of how to get into the groups, and how to get people that they recognize who I am, and how do I behave, just to find friends and kind of areas so I can deal with people, right? So that was hard. And actually it was, one thing was my very open-minded way to deal with people, and on the other side, of course, I have to find strategies like wearing the right clothes, doing the right sports, using the right language, and so on. So that was right. So that is why I started, for example, with snowboarding. Not only because of that, because I also I was interested into new things. I just like, there are no two boards, but there's one board. So how can you do that? But at some point,
I still don't know. Don't know.
So. It works. At some point,
I'm not leaving my two boards. I'm very safe with my two. Yeah.
Right. So at some point, I just then recognized, people think that's cool if you snowboard, and I just like, well, let's just try it out, where I just started to recognize, so what is cool, what do people like and what do not like. And at some point, for me to know the grade of how far will I just maybe influence or change myself or my behavior, just so other people like me, and where is my own personality, where I say, no, I will not do that, right? Yeah. And I had to find that out at a very early stage, so with 13, 14, 15 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Important age. I mean, that's Definitely. The age where you start developing your own identity, and you're questioning everything. And like I have my daughter, she's 14, and that's it's this age of realization that, like, exactly what you were saying, like everybody kind of sees me and has an opinion about me. And but how do I then respond to that? And what do I do to be part of something? But how far do I go? Because there's she's 14 and there's friends of her drinking and smoking and so there's all this, which as a parent I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
But still it is this stage where you have to find your own way, your own path. And so for you, that's sort of a it's been probably really also a very interesting lesson, or at least an interesting period where you must have learned a lot about how to integrate and how not, and what is cool. And because you came from both a teenager, and that is just what you do as a teenager, but also you came from a world where it was nothing like that. There were no you didn't have to wear the Nikes or, and have the right shirts and have the right, there was no such thing.
You didn't even know what Nike is. Exactly. That was the topic. And I just like, no, here's the swoosh. And I just like, okay, it's a shoe. Whoa, whoa.
Not just a shoe.
Yeah, definitely not. I know that right now. But at this point, it was just like,
it's language. Whoa. It's language.
Absolutely. It's expression, it's personality, individuality, and that is something that I think.
So what was if you look at yourself now in that time, and so you develop your kind of your teenager personality, and you choose in your brand, you went snowboarding, and how would you describe yourself as, or I mean, what kind of person or personality did you kind of become? Was it like the cool kid? Was it like the the cool snowboarding kid with the was it like I don't know?
Yeah.
I don't have the right words to describe.
Yeah, partly yes, definitely, which really influenced me.
But not a punker or a new waver
well, the fun fact was I was trying out almost everything. So I also start to DJing as I was 16.
Exactly. DJing, snowboarding.
Yeah. So just really trying out cool things. So because, I mean, looking back at that, this integration and have the feeling that people like me, to be very honest, was very important for me. change at some point where I find my own self-confidence at some point where I say, well, I don't care that much about that, but I tried a lot of cool things out, right? So at some point after being DJ and snowboarding, it was just like, okay, what about music? Which music do you listen to? At some point there was the skate punk from Sweden because every snowboarder was listening to that. So at some point I got long hair and different colors, So,
there you go. Yeah.
but not the area where I said I've been like kind of extreme. So not those extreme things, but trying things out to see how people react on that.
Well, and you're not afraid.
Yeah.
You could have disconnected. You could have just stayed in your room, basically.
Yeah.
And say, no, I'm not going to try. So you did. So this part of your personalities, again, just gonna try.
Yeah. Let's just do it. Sounds interesting. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go do it. Like what color hair? All right, fine.
Yeah. No, okay. Oh, it looks different. Oh, who cares?
Who cares?
There's one fun fact about me as a leader. There was a huge cartoon of different personalities of a leader. And everybody who was taking a look on this picture they found exactly one for me. I am the guy who's standing in front of the others and just like, guys, and then looking left. Oh, a new shiny thing. Let's grab that.
Let's go there, Robert.
Let's go there.
We are here, Robert. No,
come on, come with me. But yeah, that is what describes my personality most. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So in the story, we were going with you to your school of economics, going into marketing.
Yeah.
So how was school? Was it okay? You love school? You like school? Was it nice? Was it a good experience?
I loved the school before I started to study. And as I was starting to study, I loved the school. I loved the school before that. That was cool. That was okay. My school was amazing. And going to a university was just like, okay, what is happening here? And I had to learn so many things where I said, I'm not needing that. Never, ever again. So why do I have to learn that? There was so many structured things where I said, no, it's wrong. If you take a look on basics of economics, where we started to assume, let's assume the market is free, all the communication is there, everybody knows everything about their competitors and the products, and let's assume that and that and that, the answer is 4. And I was like, no, if I assume everything is different, and that was something where I just started my personality questioning everything. And I said, but that's not right. Yeah, but the professor was just like, yeah, but we have to find a result. He said, yeah, a result for what? I mean, there were so many things where I just recognized, okay, I have to go through that for the first 2 years to really start studying marketing. So there was a kind of basic knowledge that you just get about economics for the first 2 years. And that was something where I just say, okay, let's go through that. I mean, it's not that interesting. So I took a few things with me, but I said, okay, this is how it works. Let's do it. And then talking about the last 2 years, that was really, really interesting, really concentrating of the topic of marketing and branding, also compared with the topic of economics, where I just recognized, okay, profit is the king, So at the end of the day, so influenced by the 80s and 90s, knowledge from the States, from America. And I just like, well, but it's not all, So it was quite interesting for me to compare that. What can you do on a branding marketing level? So how to market products and services. And on the one side, of course, to create a good profit for the company. But is this the end of everything? Right? And then what I really hated was the topic about resources. So managing resources. I just like, yeah, but if you take a look at what we learned about companies are, if you have the maximum profit in mind, you don't care about the resources. You just optimize them. That was what we learned really in our economic study. optimizing resources. And I just like, and what about taking care of resources?
Is that something you were thinking about at that time? Well, how old were you when you were?
As I've been, 24.
Okay,
24.
so that's pretty clever.
Yeah, because I was just. Well, I was questioning everything, and at first, what I hated, and I was that is what this topic we were talking about before were influencing me. This community, this topic of taking care of people and of each other.
Right.
So the first topic that appeared in my mind was as we were talking about human resources, and I just like what, just like yeah, we have to optimize that, and just like whoa, that's totally different of how I see people and working and co-working together.
Yeah, you have like there's coal, there's oil, there's grain, there's sand, there's people, there's like wait.
You have just to optimize that, and don't care about energy, don't care about fossil oil, whatever. It's here, and I'm just like but I've read something like that it's not infinite. It's limited. I mean, I don't know if I'm the only one that I heard about that, but what I said. But what I really got mad was the topic about HR, human resources, as optimizing them also in the topic of maximizing profit and taking what they said, take the best out of it. And it's like, oh, really? Squeezing people, Whoa. So yeah. Well, then at some point I finished the study, which was okay. I was also writing my diploma thesis about viral marketing, so that was the first the first touch I had with digital marketing or digitalization at all. And then I started to work for a friend of mine who had a small company with 45 people, and said, "Okay, Robert, you study economics. Can you introduce that into my company? Because, we grow up like from 3 people to almost 40, and it's all chaotic." And that is why I had 1 year time to really exercise and also experience how real economics in real life in a small company, what it is, right? What you have to take care of. And still, people were in the middle of whatever you were doing, right? So we've introduced like packaging lists, we've introduced production lists, so we've introduced some structures and organizational things. And that was always the topic of if people are, happy about that, if they're taking care of that or not. And if they are not taking care of that, if they say, I don't care about that, just let me do my work, you will see that at the end of the day, it didn't work, right? So at the end of the day, it's always been about motivating people, go the steps with you if you're changing something, right? Oh, yeah, what I should also mention is that I started to work as a working student at a company called Brand Trust here in Nürnberg, which are well-known brand consultants. So I had the possibility to learn a lot about how brands, what is important for brands, what are brand rules, what is vision, mission, what is a brand statement, how to develop that. So I always had this brand topic in mind.
Right.
So that helped me a lot to also to understand what are the mechanics at this time. It was around about 2004, 2005. What were the whole mechanics about branding and brand rules and so on. So that is something that I took with me for the whole time until today. So I'm very thankful also for this time.
Yeah. Okay. So because in a way, you started being interested in brands. Actually, pretty cool because that is still is the stuff that you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
Still, right. So which is amazing. It's nothing like my career because it's been all over the place. I never knew what I wanted. So I'm quite jealous. This is amazing. But so what happened after? So you joined that company for a year?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what happened?
And then at some point I said just like, okay, let's get self-employed.
So this is where you started your own company.
Yeah.
Right.
There was a kind of friend
Why?
of a there was a friend of a friend, and he had just a very small company doing a lot for Adidas at this point. So like image videos and presentations and so on and so on. And at some point, and we got somehow in touch. And at some point, he was just like, "Okay, I'm a really good video cutter, and I have like 2 or 3 freelancers here doing that, but I don't have any idea about economics, and I don't have any idea about marketing. I don't have any idea how to sell those products to people." And I just like, well, okay, let's do it. Why not? So we founded a company here in Germany, and I just really just took care of first of this economic stuff, like taking care of money, how to get our money, how do we get those paid for everything. How do you start to sell those products? So that was my first touch with acquisition. So within Adidas, but also outside of Adidas, where I started to went to trade shows, getting in touch with different people, saying, "Hey, listen, guys, we are a digital agency." And digital, what is digital? And trying to sell that. And that is a network that I've created, and I still taking care of until now. With around about right now 900 people, they are still in touch somehow during the year. Because somehow it was fascinating for me to talk to so many different people with different needs and wants and different personalities, right? So we started to do this business very successful. Also, so we were creating the whole sell-in communication for Adidas. So that is what they are selling, or all the presentations, videos, and so on for the new products. But at some point it was getting too big and too much also for me. And that was the year of 2008 and 2009 where I just broke down totally.
Right. This is your burnout you talked about. So how do you know that you have a burnout? When do you say, yes, I think...
Yeah. I mean, take a look backwards. I know exactly where it started and what the signs were, but within this time, it was just always like, okay, you're not feeling well. You just forget things. That is the first thing where we just started. And you're feeling stressed and busy. You will not calm down. That is where it started. And it's just like, oh, come on, you're gonna manage that. Easy, come on. So. At some point, I couldn't sleep anymore. So I just slept for 2 or 3 hours and woke up with a really pressure on my breast. It just felt like a big stone on my breast. So that's the point where I started to do sports, running until today. But I mean, running like for 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the night.
Oh, really?
Just to get my mind free, just to get the day structured, and so on and so on. And everybody was just like taking a look on me, also within the company, saying, "Oh, Robert, you just don't look good. I mean, something's wrong." And it's like, no, everything's fine. Just a little bit more sleep, maybe some holiday, and so on and so on. But at some point, that was like beginning of 2009, I think. I started really to forgot a lot of things. So I had a very important call, for example, with one of my product managers at Adidas. So that was very important. We were called for 1 hour, and I just hang up and just like recognize, I can't remember anything out of that. I can't remember what we are speaking about. But hey, I took notes. Everything's cool. So taking a look on those notes, it was just nothing. They were just scribbling, right? And at some point, I just recognized it's about my health. So I've got kind of, drifting away and really falling down for a few seconds. I just recognized, okay, that was the point where I said, okay, something's wrong. Something's totally wrong. And at this point, I just recognized it's far enough to say I have to quit that, because I gonna not manage that. So I have to take a break for a long time. That was almost half a year, where I really said, okay, something's wrong with me, right? Really having also therapists who helped me within that. That is what happened. And at some point I felt I felt healthy. And then I just decided to found another digital agency.
Oh, you're like,
Why not?
that went really well. Let's do that again. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go and do the same thing all over
Yeah.
again. But so okay. So you gonna stop working. You took a break for 6 months. What were those 6 months like? I mean, were you because you must have been, were you frustrated? Did you feel ill? Were you, I mean, because at that point you might not know how long that's going to take, right?
Yeah, definitely. It was just like, of course, I had something in mind where I said, okay, at some point you have to start to work again because I mean, you have to pay your bills and so on and so on. But the first 3 weeks I've been just like away in the middle of mountains, where nobody, just like I've been like contacted no one. I want to have really calm down and see what is happening with me, what is happening in my mind, how did it influence me, what happened, and so on. So the first 3, almost 4 weeks I've been like really cutting everything off. I said, people, I'm away for I don't know how long, but at least 3 or 4 weeks. So I have to find myself again and see what happened within myself. And after those 4 weeks, I just went back home and said, okay, what should I do? So that is the point where I was searching for a therapist. And say, okay, let's see what happened within my mind, right? And which was okay, but in my experience, I felt like I'm healthy, but it still influenced me for many, many years. Right. So how I was acting, I just recognized for a long time, I, for example, wasn't able to feel any deep feelings for a long time, like deep love and deep joy, whatever. Also deep fear, something like fear wasn't in my mind until my son was born, right? So that's
Really?
that was the first time I really felt a deep love, really deep love, and a deep fear about, whoa, how are you going to manage that, And that has influenced me for a long time, for a very long time. So still getting step by step, taking care of myself. So how do I feel? Do I feel like, can I manage things? So that was really step by step getting back to life. And at some point I was recognized, okay, Robert, you have to start to work somehow, right? And so the easiest way for me at this point was, okay, let's find, what you can do. That this digital topic is a topic for a lot of companies. You have many contacts there. Let's do it almost the same but different. So not concentrating on one customer, but providing very quick and fast digital solutions for a lot of possible customers. So working on projects for 1 to 3 weeks, deliver that, and let's go for another project.
So why is that a solution to that specific problem of your health and not getting, not trying not to get a burnout again? I mean, why? Because I think I understand, but why did you feel that was a solution? To have not just one client, but have many clients?
Yeah, actually, it was a kind of dependency as we were working the first company. So at some point, they were just pushing more and more projects and products into that. They were just like, it was just a dependency that wasn't healthy, right? So they could also say, we are spending so and so much money on you, and that's 95% of your turnover and so on. So they had the possibility to, deal with you in a special way. They didn't do that, but it was just a feeling that I have, like having this one dependency and knowing that just one bad thing could lead to the fact that the customer would just say, oh no, I will not do any business with you anymore. That really stressed me at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, that's the danger of having one big client.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that I experienced that on my own and my body and my mind. So,
Yeah, totally. Well, but it's also, I mean, it's counterintuitive in a way if you haven't had that experience, that because it's also like amazing, and it's such a, because you have this great relationship, and you know, all the work just comes in. But if you haven't had that experience of, you know, what if that client all of a sudden says, well, you know, we like to try another agency, or we'd like to try, because, you know, or you know, the most important clients within the company, you know, leave, get another job in another company or something, the relationship is broken.
Yeah.
So that feeling of that might happen in the back of your mind, even if it doesn't, and even if they're wonderful and they treat you really well, the fear in the back of your mind is something. And I think everyone who's been working in agencies, or had their own agencies, probably had that kind of moment where you had maybe one or maybe two or three big clients, and they could just, they get so much power, even if they don't, you know, treat you bad. It's just not a healthy situation to be in, right?
Especially, it's always in your mind, you know, it's always something that really just it's just there, you know.
Yeah, so and that's good advice for people who are you know, wanting to start their own agency. You know, be aware of the fact that, you know, diversity is king in this.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what happened? So you started again. You kind of knew more about yourself, and because you are this person that says, let's just go do it. It has to be done. Let's go and do it. You know. But there's a moment where your buddy and your mind said, well, no.
Yeah. Just slightly, you know, no. And then you're off, right? Yeah, definitely. But, you know, that was an experience that really just like I took with me, and I started to listen at some point, and it took me another 2 or 3 or almost 4 years to listen to what my body and my mind is trying to tell me. So ready to listen to that. How far can you go? Isn't that much too far what you're doing right now? At some point also not taking care of what people think about yourself, but being the self-confidence, having the self-confidence, and to know what your profession is and what you can do or even not, right? But that took a long process. So we've been very successful as an agency. That worked quite well, but still my personality, without having the possibility to have those deep feelings on any area, I was just like I don't know, maybe like a cyborg, but working quite well. So always being nice to people, and also selling products, developing new things, and so on and so on. But at some point I also recognized, okay, something's still wrong. So it's something is missing, and I don't like it like it is. Right. So at this point, my wife and me, that was just like we'd never had the topic about kids. But at some point we said we don't want to have any kids. And at some point she said, oh, I want to have kids right now. And I was just like, well, okay, right now, or can I just, you know,
can I think about it?
Yeah, can I just, you know? And there was one topic. If I thought about, well, being a father, or being responsible for children, there's, I don't know where it comes from, but it was a topic. If I want to do it like that, I want to have time for my kids or for children, and I don't want to be self-employed. I don't want, because I know it. I will always have the pressure of, you know, do business. If you don't not doing this like that, if you're not doing this right now, but maybe just postpone that, and so on and so on. So that was the next decision where I said, okay, I have to get out of this agency. And thinking about being employed. So again, and that is where
well, again, but if I heard you right, the previous time you were employed was for the 1 year.
Yeah,
that was it, right?
Yeah.
It's just, so you've just experienced 1 year. That's not really. That's not a really job.
Definitely, it's not employed for what other people would call it,
Yeah.
right? Because
maybe
it was
when
just like
you're in the hotel, maybe that,
maybe more as within this year, but
right.
that was something I said, okay, let's do it. And
Yeah.
then I had the connection to the owner of Brand Trust. They had another agency, and he said, okay, Robert, for a different time, for maybe 1 year, 1.5 year, 2 years, I can offer you the possibility to transform this company into a more digital way, because they were a very classical agency. And well, I just like, okay, let's do it. Let's try it out. So I went in there, and they are doing a really amazing and a really good work. But at some point, I just recognized it's the culture and also the management that I don't like. I that's something that now something's missing again, right? So at some day I was driving, I was passing by here our offices, and I see our green logo. I have to say right now and I just like recognize, oh, that's also quite interesting company as a digital agency with 80 people that nobody knows out there. So well, the name was known in Nürnberg, but you didn't hear anything, and also in Germany, but you didn't hear anything about since many years. So they are very quiet. But if you talk about good quality work, our name was always there. So I was just passing here by, and I was just like, okay, quite interesting. Let's see. So I met the CEO here, and he was just like, well, I like your personality. I like how you think and what your mindset is. And I was I was applying for a job as project management, because I said, okay, let's do it. Let's just try it out, or senior project management at this moment. And he said, no, I don't see you as a project manager, but I see you as a kind of business developer for us as an agency or as a company. And it's just like, okay, whatever that is, right?
Fine.
Fine, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is where beginning of 2015, I went here into this company. And where everything that I've experienced so far helped me a lot within here, because I had to kind of transform this company, but I've been like self-employed, which helped me so far, because I just met my own decisions and just did it like before. But what I didn't recognize, that there are a lot of people they have also take care of why deciding those things, right? So that's something that I had to learn, like the CEO, other guys from the management board.
Right.
So that was a kind of where they said, okay, Robert, yeah, whoa, amazing, what is happening there? But how was the way in there? Why didn't you tell us that something like this and this and this will happen? And that was quite, yeah.
I had to tell you.
Yeah. So, come on, it's my area. So, no. So that was a quite interesting experience.
Yeah.
For me, also learning again and again and again and again. But it went quite well. So we are right now really on the right track. So I love this job here, really. And I love the people here, and I love what we are doing. And at some point, I really got the peace of mind that I was kind of missing for so many years, which I didn't even recognize, that I'm just at the right place with the right job and with the right mindset, right?
Right. Yeah. And so where is the Economist? Because I know you have a big interest in that topic.
Yeah.
And so where is that that kind of part of you?
Well, I mean, within the company, it is the topic of within our company, it is the topic of the existing transformation. So where are we going to lead to? You know, how do we earn our money? And I'm not talking about making money, but earning money. That's totally different mindset.
What's the difference?
Well, if you just make money, you just make it. You don't care about how it just comes to you. You don't care about resources, whatever. If you earn money, you have to earn it somehow. So you have to push everything forward. So people they love it to give it to you at the end of the day. Let's say it like that, right? A totally different way of of getting money.
Because when you were in your 20s and you were studying economics and you were in your school, you were saying like, what are human resources? What humans are no resources, and we have to. So this is one of the things that you are kind of integrating into what you're doing and your business. Are there other things like that from that kind of philosophy that you have that you say we have to do things very differently?
There are so many things. Also talking about being responsible for things, right? Taking responsibility as a person, but also as a team, but also as a company. At the end of the day, also as a brand. So take responsible for what you're doing. Take responsibility, for what you're doing. Right? What is happening out there? What you are impacting? What you are influencing? Right? That is something that I believe so many companies, they just don't have it in mind, right? Still influence, if you take a look on who is sitting on those management seats at the end of the day, still influence within the 80s and 90s, optimizing resources. Whereas that, it's in my opinion, it's wrong. And let's see if that works. If there are still other companies or companies who are just really doing this transformation, and always keeping in mind, in my opinion, within the next 20, 30 years, the differentiation will be not about the best quality, the best price, and the highest value from delivering products, whatever. I believe it is being sustainable and being responsible for what you're doing. I believe that there will be some shift, and there still is for some companies, where people will be aware of what is happening out there. What do we do with all those resources? And that is wrong. So, and to teach people or companies and to show them how important that is, taking care of something like that, which we'll call, as I mentioned, human centricity. It's not only about employees, but also taking responsibility for the whole thing that I am influencing as a company. That is something that drives me. That is something that really influences me. And that is something that I recognize for a lot of companies, they start to listen to that. Mm-hmm. But they are just interested in, okay, what is it, and what is it about if we're talking about human centricity, right? Where I think there are a few companies who are on track about that, but still a lot of companies who are just like don't taking care of that. But I think that is where the movement will go. We were talking last time about the wave, and I think that's one of the waves where it's leading to. And that is something that really, really inspires me on the other side.
So, I mean, and then you're talking about your clients, right? So the companies that you work with, that you show sort of another way of doing things, making them aware of another way of doing things, but you personally as a leader, as someone within your own organization and the people around you. So how does that translate to your own kind of way of leading and doing things?
Oh, on so many ways. If you take a look, I'm managing director. As my title is managing director. But if you ask people in here, they will not say he's a managing director. He's just a co-working guy. He's a colleague. He's something you can work with. You can talk and discuss with, who's also taking care of what other people are telling me and saying, oh yeah, you're right. It was my fault. I'm wrong with that. You're totally right. Let's do it like that. There's also about motivating people and creating spaces for people where they can develop. They can feel kind of safety, also doing mistakes. And I am the guy who's standing there and say, yeah, it's my responsibility also to take responsibility for your mistakes, because we've done that together, right? You shouldn't do the same mistake for twice or three times, You should learn out of that. But that is something where I believe leaders have to create the space for people where they can develop, and having security. Well, I can try things out, right? Because without trying out, you cannot develop something new. It doesn't work.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that safe space? So how do you create the safe space?
Oh, it's on the different levels, especially talking about at first talking with people. What would you like to do in the future? So what is your vision within this company? Where would you like to go? And they are telling me about this and this and this. Okay, how can we achieve that? What personality? How do you learn things? Just like do it by yourself, or do you need some lectures? Do you need projects for that? And let's just try it out. Let's do it. And the space is created more in mind and not a physical space, right? Because they always know if there is something, they can always ask me, talk together with me, always keep me updated, and I just say, okay, I have all the information, and I can stand up there and say, yeah, that's the right way. And if it's the wrong way, well, let's learn out of that, right? So providing the security where people can try out new things on this level, and we are integrating that right now within our company in an agile process, developing products and innovations for ourselves. So I was trying things out and connecting with people within the company and say, okay, how can we create a process out of that where we can integrate all employees into small kind of spaces where they can create ideas and being really crazy and mad about that. And let's see if we can do something out of that. It's like a typical agile process.
Sure. Okay. But it sounds like there's a need for trust, right? So
Absolutely.
Because if I would be working with you and I wouldn't really trust you, because there's enough companies that tell their employees that they have to be creative and and have an entrepreneurial spirit and try things out, and and then in the end they cannot make mistakes, and there's a culture of fear, but it's based on they have to trust you. So which is, I think, so for a lot of people who are either who are in a leadership position or aspire to be a leadership position, or I think that's because that also makes you very vulnerable, I assume. Right? Because how do you deal with how do you create that trust with people?
Actually, you have to prove that. Actually, how you're dealing with people. If you tell something, that you have to provide it. That's the most important thing. That is, at the end of the day, it's all about trust. That is why people buy products from brands, from companies. That is why people deal with each other. You have to create trust. So if you promise something, keep that promise, right?
And that's so with the brands you love, what you said, that those are the brands that keep their promises. So so in a way that it's the same as you as a leader. You just you do what you say and you keep your promise.
Absolutely,
you have to prove it. So
at first you have to prove it until people create this trust and start to deal with you, right? If I say, hey, listen, guys, we are going it like this and this and this and this, then you stand behind it. And if there are any problems, and our CEO says, hey, listen, Robert, but that's a crap, and so on, where I'm standing there and saying, no, it's not, right? And if that is, I am taking the responsibility for that, and not people beside me, right? So which people just recognize, okay, I can trust this person because he's standing or she's standing in front of me and keeping the promise. And that is a kind of relationship that you develop together with your people, right? You need a relationship with your colleagues, employees. Also as a leader, you need a relationship to the people, and not seeing that as it's a producing resource part or whatever, right? You need a real relation to those people. You need to know who are they, what their concerns are and what is important for them. And that is what you have to also deal with.
Mm-hmm. And when you started, doing this, because when you started working in your current company, did they already have a culture like that? Was that or something people were used to?
Partly, yes, definitely. Because I don't think that I would start. There's also something in mind for me to say, okay, how to do it within a company where there is this old thinking, structure, culture, whatever.
Right.
I think I would just like give up after some time, because if there is nothing they can build on, right? So the first thing that you have to create is a kind of something that you can build on. And if there is nothing, if you recognize, okay, well, where should I start? That's quite difficult. Of course, it might also work, and it works also in the other companies, but it's a huge amount of work, right?
So what would you say if you would give advice to someone who's kind of just starting on this journey? And because I think we all, well, I'm pretty sure people listening to this podcast all know that you need to create that safe space for people in order to be creative and to be innovative and to be agile and to be, the whole thing. And also to provide quality to your customers and your clients, of whatever industry you're in. If the people working in your company are, working, I want to say are happy, but maybe that's too big word for people to kind of conceive. But I still think that if they're happy, if there's a trust relationship, if there's their safe space, that they will deliver better quality. Of course, because it's common sense. It is just nothing more than common sense.
Yeah.
So if you with all your experience in having your own company and working in a company that you're working in now, where should people start? What should they do?
I think there's one important thing that I personally recognized, and it's not about me. It's a friend of mine said, "Hey, Robert, take your ego out." Right? It's not about you. And I at some point recognized, okay, I cannot do my job without the people who are co-working together with me. So if at some point, if I would give the advice, it's not about you, it's about the team and people who are providing that what you need as a leader, and what makes you and the company successful, right? If you will not have those people behind you, well, it's always a fight, right? It's always really, really hard. But imagine what will happen if those people are co-working together with you, with the same target, with the same aim in mind, knowing you're standing behind them and you are supporting them, so they supporting you too. What an amazing power you will create right now. So it's not about your success, but the success of the team and the people behind you. Then you're successful, right? So take the ego out. Do it.
Okay, that's good advice. Well, what about the future? What about the future? What you have your philosophy, you see things differently than most people, and especially from an economic point of view. What about the future for yourself? But also, we talked about this wave. What do you see?
Well, actually, maybe it's easier for me to talking about myself. Sorry for that. I know I have to take my ego out, but but actually, I know. Well, I found my business family here. Let's say it like that. I feel really, really well here, and I can push things forward, which is really, really cool. So I'm gonna stay here for a long time, hopefully. Always keeping this driving force of humans at the end of the day. Right? Just really keep that in mind. I also wrote an article, unfortunately in German, about that's the only, let's call it resource, because it is one, but on a totally different way. It's the only resource that never ends. So human creativity and human power, right? Not in the way how we are dealing with that today, but in the future, right? So if we're talking about all the topics of being future-oriented and being safe for the future, it's all about creativity of people, of human creativity. It's not about figures and numbers, quarterly numbers, and optimizing that and that, because all the other resources, in my opinion, are limited at some point, right? So you have take care of how you're dealing with those resources, but at the end of the day, create the power of human creativity, and you can motivate them. And if you start to do that, then we are talking about creating innovations who are also sustainable for the future, right? So that is something that I'd love to work on that. And you see that it's pushing, that's my wave, let's say like that, and that is where I just recognize that companies start to think about it and also to implement that, like Patagonia did. That's just an amazing example. But also as a burden, as a snowboarding company, they announced yesterday, well, all our whole value chain is now sustainable and economical friendly. We worked for that for many years, but now we can announce we can do that, right? So at the end of the day, it's only possible with the right people and not with any other resources, right? People who are changing things, where you create space, they can develop and use their own creativity to develop new products, new topics, and so on and so on. I believe the topic of sustainability, and not only eco-friendly, but really being sustainable and responsible, that's the big wave for me, right? So people have to move somehow for taking responsibility for what they are doing within their teams, what they are doing as a company, as a brand, within the topic of being sustainable in the long run, not only eco-friendly, but also really sustainable, providing products and services that people will keep in mind and love at the end of the day, but also teaching consumers out there what is possible for the future, right? There are so many startups and brands who are doing things totally different at all those big concerns and big companies are doing, because they have the possibility, right? So I think that's the future. So that's the wave where we are heading right now. And it has, at the end of the day, to keep it in our topic, at the end of the day, it has to do a lot of economics. So how do we use economics, what we've learned so far, how we create eco-friendly economics, dealing with that. So what will happen in the future? So it's not only it's never about optimizing in the future, but it's about how to take responsibility for all our resources, for also for the people, how can we integrate those people within all the topic of, at the end of the day, also being successful as a company. But because at the end of the day, of course, it's all about earning money for a company. Mm-hmm. But how do you do that in the future?
Awesome. Thank you. Good place to end on this very positive, inspirational note. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your story. That's something to, I love that connection between, all the things that you went through from a child to a teenager, and with your passion and even your burnout. I think because all these moments in life teach us so many things, right? And if you allow yourself to learn from these moments, right, then they are not wasted, and they become very important, and they shape you, but it's very good to be able to reflect on that. So
thank you very much for your time, also for your questions. It was a pleasure, really. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and thanks a lot for that.